Welcome to the Wild Crone Wisdom podcast with your host, Vinutha Mohan. In this episode, we explore the archetype of the mother and the burden it places on women to live up to unrealistic cultural expectations. A beautiful dove has built a nest in one of my hanging baskets in the backyard. For the past week, the mother dove has been sitting on her eggs. She is so still, unmoving, absolutely alert, and peaceful while being vigilant. Every time I look at her, she's there. I find myself wondering, when does she eat or sleep? Maybe the parents are taking turns and the father is also helping out. But every time I look, I imagine it is the mother bird. In just a few days, the eggs will hatch. The parents will feed the chicks, and eventually these young birds will fly away. I imagine what would happen if the mother bird had a human mind. Perhaps she would feel so proud about how much she was martyring herself for her babies. Perhaps she will remind them every day about how she sat on them day and night without food, water, or sleep, and how it was all worth it. Perhaps she will tell them that she cannot imagine her babies flying away and dreams of growing old with them. Perhaps when they become ready to fly, she would emotionally blackmail them, shedding torrents of tears, and make them promise that they would keep in touch and visit regularly. Perhaps she would track their Instagram and Facebook posts of her children and see who is in and who is out. Thankfully, the bird does not have a human mind, and therefore none of these neuroses. It just instinctively does what it needs to do, and when it is time, it will let go and let be. If only we could be like that as mothers. Mother's Day celebrations have become such a big deal all over the world. It's a made-up Hallmark celebration, in my opinion, but at least it makes people celebrate their mothers once a year. But what does it mean to be a mother? Who is a mother? I believe that societies and cultures have come up with a very narrow definition of the mother archetype. Mothers in many cultures have become synonymous with martyrs. When we think mothers, we think martyrdom. We imagine someone who has no life, no desires of her own, is unconditionally loving, available 24/7, sacrifices everything for her children, has no boundaries, physically slaves for them even when they become adults, and is at the same time always cheerful and happy like Mary Poppins. That is so much pressure and an impossible ask. No wonder Brené Brown says that mother and mothering are huge shame triggers for women. Many young women are terrified of becoming mothers because of the enormity of the responsibility and because they have seen their own mothers struggle to live up to these cultural expectations passed on from generation to generation. What happens when you can't or don't want to live up to that standard? I was one such mother. I had no interest or inclination to martyr myself. Thankfully, my mother didn't either. So that was not a modeling that was passed down to me. I always enjoyed my career, had hobbies, wasn't so physically nurturing, hardly changed many diapers, went on retreats for myself, and enjoyed a lot of self-care. So for the longest time, I thought that I didn't have a single nurturing bone in my body or a mother archetype. I used to constantly beat myself about it and feel like I was falling short of what was required of me. My kids, of course, were perplexed by this. I often asked them if I was a nurturing mom, and they always felt that I was a wonderful mom to them. at least good enough. I never could take those compliments in. Where was the disconnect? That changed when I started studying astrology. To my surprise, my chart revealed that I had a very strong mother archetype, overflowing with nurturing energy. It is then that I realized that society had created such a narrow definition for a mother, and because I didn't fit into that stereotypical definition, I had dismissed my maternal instincts. Then I thought about how much all of my godchildren loved me, how all my clients found me nurturing, and how during all my internships as a school counselor, the children would make a beeline for my office. I realized then that I am a good mother, just not in the stereotypical Mary Poppins way. I'm not a typical mother. I don't mollycoddle. I have very healthy boundaries with my children. I'm a tough love kind of person. I'm emotionally very nurturing, but not physically. I just cannot slave at the stove baking cookies and preparing extravagant meals. I don't fold their laundry. I don't rescue my kids. I don't fix it for them. I am not available 24/7. And I don't live through them. I have a life. My dreams are mine to chase, not their responsibility. As a parent, I always felt that my greatest gift to my children would be to let them know that I need nothing from them, to set them free. I'm not perfect. I have a lot of flaws, and I'm completely accepting of the fact that I am flawsome. Once I realized all this, I stopped beating myself up for not fitting into the stereotypical definition of the good mother. I am a good mother, just different. There are all kinds of mothers. You don't have to give birth to a child to be a mother, to be nurturing. Oprah is a mother to her beautiful African daughters. Mother Teresa was a nurturing figure to many in the streets of Calcutta. Many are wonderful mothers to their cats and dogs. I love gardening, and when I look at my plants, I feel like they are my babies. Not every mother needs to be Mary Poppins or a martyr. In fact, as Glennon Doyle asks, what if the call of motherhood is not to be a martyr, but to be a model? So as we approach the end of the year holidays such as Halloween, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, Diwali, I hope all of us can free ourselves from these mothering cages that society has imposed on us and celebrate our unique flavor of motherhood. There is no one formula for being a good enough mother. And maybe we can take a lesson from that dove in my backyard, doing what is needed, and when the time comes, simply letting go. There is no greater burden on a child than the unlived life of a parent. Carl Jung. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wild Crone Wisdom with your host Vinutha Mohan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist from the Bay Area, California, specializing in trauma and attachment repair. I'm also a certified EMDR specialist and a certified shamanic practitioner. In this podcast series, we delve into the journey of our spiritual essence having a human experience. While many social scientists study human emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, and others explore transcendental experiences, few bridge the gap to help embody the spiritual wisdom in everyday life. I call this the psycho-spiritual path. Through this podcast, I hope to share bite-sized practical insights for navigating life as an empowered sovereign being. If you found this episode valuable, we'd greatly appreciate your support. Please consider rating, reviewing, commenting, and subscribing on your podcast platform to help us reach a wider audience. You can explore more of my writings on Medium by following the link in the show notes. We'd also love to hear about your experience, so feel free to share your thoughts with us at Wild Crone Wisdom Podcast at gmail.com. Thank you for being part of our journey. Please be advised, the information provided in the Wild Crone Wisdom Podcast is intended for general information purposes only. Vinutha Mohan is a licensed therapist and healer. However, the content shared in this podcast does not replace or constitute professional advice, therapy, or counseling. It is essential to consult with a qualified mental health professional for personalized guidance regarding your unique circumstances. Thank you.